That's better light. Blessed be everyone. Welcome to another Mystery Witch School YouTube live stream. Welcome to everybody. We're already having a conversation at the moment about sparrows and what sparrows might mean. So, yes, I don't know a lot about sparrows, so we don't get them here anymore. But from what I do know, I know that they're very communal birds, and so often they can symbolize community or going into community or working with community. So if that rings a bell at all, and I'd say definitely it's got a message for you if you've seen the bird twice and it's just been visiting you and getting your attention. So that's what we were talking about before the live actually started through the chat. Okay, so welcome to everybody who's on the chat now. Welcome to those of you watching the replay as we wait for more people to join. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the Mystery Witch School, the YouTube channel. Mystery Witch School is here for you if you're interested in Wicca, witchcraft, magic, shadow work, and tarot. Today we're going to be talking probably more along the shadow work type of thing because we're dealing with, and also magic at the same time because we're dealing with negative beliefs and how negative beliefs can actually, how to basically identify what they are and then work on how to change them or or overwrite them, which is pretty much what you're doing with your brain when you're dealing with changing your thoughts. And the reason it's so important to do this is because in magic, our beliefs affect our feelings, and our feelings are a big part of how we make magic work. So we need to be feeling the way we want to feel, and we often need the beliefs to support that. So that's why it's important. Before we start, though, if you're interested in looking at changing beliefs and you're really serious about wanting to do that shadow work where you can go into finding your beliefs, I do have a free masterclass. It is called How to Heal Your Shadow Through Balancing Your Energy Centers. And this is where you're working with each chakra and negative beliefs that are held at each chakra. So not only are you balancing your chakras and your energy system, you're also working at what is in each chakra that is blocking the energy and causing the chakra not to function as well as it should. And that can cause blockages in other chakras as well, particularly the upper chakras, because they're very sort of dependent on the lower ones functioning well in order for you to really get to the spiritual stuff and the psychic stuff and that connecting to spirit and connecting to your intuition, very much affected by what's going on in the lower chakras. So I will put a link to that masterclass in the chat, and it is also in the description field under the video once it has been published and processed, which I think is pretty much instantly after I get off. Okay, so I've just put that there for you. So as I'm waiting still for people to come on, hi Amy, hi Mike, hi Stephanie, hi Swakfan, hi Junipers, Tarot and Magic, hi Kelly, B, and I think that's everybody so far actually on here. So that is awesome. Hi Shakti Veda, good to see you. So negative beliefs are part of magic, and part of magic is working with who we are, because when we're doing magic, we are changing ourselves. We are becoming the people we want to become. We are becoming the people we really do know we are. But for some reason or other, we haven't felt like being that person, and so life perhaps hasn't brought us what we wanted, or we haven't been steered in the direction that we really want to go in. And that's a lot to do with our perception of ourselves and the world around us. So when we do magic, when we do a spell, we are not just trying to manipulate the outer world, which magic is often seen as being about just being able to go and manipulate the outer world. It's kind of the reputation it has. It's not really about that. It's about actually changing ourselves so that we end up being drawn toward what it is that we're wanting to experience and what it is we're wanting to have in our lives. And that requires us to change. It requires us to be the person who has those things or does those things. So every time we do a spell, we're working on not just trying to change things around us, we are also changing ourselves to be that person that has these new things and these changes in our life. So it's a little bit of a shadow work, inner work thing every time we go ahead and we do magic. When I do magic, and when I do shadow work, I really do like working with Hecate. So I thought I'd talk a little bit more about working with Hecate today as well. Okay, so we've got The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene, talk about befriending the shadow the other day. So you're just awesome. And it is about befriending our shadow, befriending our ego, befriending that part of us that's programmed to keep us safe. That's all it really is. It's about keeping us safe. And as children, we have to learn to survive in the world. And we get a lot of information and experiences coming from the world outside of ourselves when we're children, coming from our community. And the community is a really big influence. Certainly, families are an influence too, but the community as well. What's going on in the broader community, what the beliefs are at the time in the broader community. And of course, when we get to go to school, we're then getting the indoctrination from the education system as well, which is part of the sort of greater community. So we are being inundated when we're children and we're in this really vulnerable theta brainwave state from the years of 1 through to 7, and we're like little psychic sponges and we're picking up all of this information about ourselves and the world. On top of that, when we're children, we're incredibly egocentric. We think everything's about us. And so when we see stuff going on around us that's good and positive, we think we've contributed to that. When we're experiencing negative situations, such as maybe parents arguing or uh, teachers who are particularly nasty, even if it's not necessarily directed at us, we still feel that we're somehow responsible. So children take on the responsibility of the world. And that affects, of course, how we think about ourselves and what we believe about ourselves in the world when we become adults. And this is all very interesting science. It's been studied by people like Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, and many other scientists out there looking at how our subconscious mind and our upbringing and our beliefs are creating our experiences as we're adults. And this is where magic comes in, because a lot of the research that these people have been doing has been on things like law of attraction and law of assumption. And they've actually done a lot of investigation into this from a more scientific stance, like experimenting and measuring and using fMRI to get an understanding of what's going on in the brain. So we know from a lot of the modern research that magic does work. And while we still call it magic because that's where we come from, other people might call it other things: manifestation, law of attraction, whatever you want to call it, law of assumption, whatever. But we do know that our thinking creates emotion, our feeling, and that our feelings create our behavior. We behave according to how we feel, according to how we think. And this also then creates our perception of the world too. So when we're doing magic to make change in our lives, we have to be aware of our belief system about what it is we're wanting to manifest in ourselves so that we can make it easier for ourselves to have more successful magic and to become the person that has and is those things. So that's why shadow work's so important. And when you're looking at, say, high magic or ceremonial magic or any of the magical traditions, shadow work is actually a big part of what people do. because to change your outer world, you really do have to change your inner world as well. And this is something that has caught on pretty much in Wicca and also in the greater witchcraft community too, that the inner work is as important as knowing the herbs and the oils and the different ways of doing magic in order to be able to change our lives for the better. We also know that there are a lot of myths around magic too, and a lot of beliefs that we have about magic come from those myths, from the fairy tales, from television, even from folklore. And often these beliefs are the larger than life ones, the ones where you just wiggle your nose and stuff happens, is what we've been fed for a very long time about what magic is. And a lot of us subconsciously have that expectation that magic is that easy, that magic is just about being able to use some kind of supernormal, superhuman power to be able to make something happen. And we know from what the studies are that that's not necessarily how magic probably works. It's got a lot more to do with our subconscious mind and our subconscious mind's somehow connection to the field in some way. Okay. I recently began my quest to compete in the Mr. Natural universe. I've got massive gains in muscle within a month and continue to build. Awesome. Yeah. And that would be from your beliefs and also from using your visualization to feel into being stronger and seeing yourself and being that person who is, you know, that the winner of that kind of competition, being the person who would win such a thing, like becoming that person essentially. Uh, More of my readings have been coming to pass. Awesome, Stephanie. Great. So that's, yeah. So I also do tarot readings too, tarot coaching more so than just readings as well. If people are interested in doing any tarot coaching with me, there's links in the description field below this video how you can do that, or you can go on to my website as well if you're interested in tarot coaching. Positive thoughts. Yes, positive thoughts. If you can have a positive thought for at least 60 seconds, it'll actually change your autonomic nervous system. It'll actually change your feelings and what chemicals are running through your nervous system. So we know this because we can hook people up to various different machinery these days and test these things. So we know that thinking affects emotion, and emotion affects behavior. And this is where it's important to work with that. Okay, we're little sponges. I spray sage and rue spray all over me when I come home from the store, and spray my feet especially. Very psychic, absorb everyone's energy. Yes, particularly if you're empathic, it's good to do that, and it also helps you subconsciously feel more cleansed as well. We are born magic. We just have to recognize, acknowledge, remember, and embrace it as who we actually are. Absolutely. So we are magic. So when it comes to doing magic, everyone has probably found that there's some magic that you're naturally quite good at, and there's other magic that you may be struggling with. And if you want to share what that is, like maybe what you're really super duper good at, and then what you still struggle with in the comments field or in the chat, please do so, because it will give us some more things to talk about. Hecate is by far my favorite to work with. She taught me so much, and it's like she leads me to take baby steps in the right direction. Absolutely. In going back in time in regards to healing trauma and to clear blocks and thought patterns, particularly releasing generational wounding and patterns, absolutely awesome. Uh, uh, okay, so that's with Hecate, and it's helped enormously with your spell work and manifestation. Awesome. Yes, that is when we're doing shadow work and we're going back and we're healing traumas from the past, whether they're big traumas or whether they're just little traumas that a lot of children have, like dropping your ice cream or something and getting into trouble or something like that. We're actually changing the past, energetically. And when we change the past, of course, the future has to change too, doesn't it? So going back and doing work on healing our past and being able to release the emotions that are trapped in events from the past is actually doing magic on the past and changing the past. So even though the event in your memory is going to be the same event, emotionally it'll be different. And so that change actually changes your future just simply because you've changed the past. So that's a way of doing magic. Instead of working on doing magic for future, you can actually do magic to change the past as well. And that can actually have a carry on effect into your future because we're living the past, present, and future timelines all at the same time. There really isn't any such thing as time, linear time, that, and we know that there's all different timelines all happening at once. And when we're doing magic and we're putting ourselves in the wish fulfilled as if it's happening now, we're kind of bringing what's, I guess, in theory, uh, the future into the now. And when we're working on releasing trauma and beliefs from the past, we're essentially going back in time, but it's still all happening now. It can only ever happen now. So we only have the now. So when we're doing magic, we want to feel within the wish fulfilled as if it's happening now and experiencing it now because we only have the now to have this experience. So it's that's why we do that. So finding those negative beliefs is the first thing to do. And this is where I do like to work with Hecate. You can work with other deities, particularly deities that are really helpful at things like shadow work, or you don't need to work with a deity if working with a deity isn't your thing. Just work with your guides. There's a lot of help out there for this sort of thing within your spiritual guidance troops or your team of spirit helpers out there that will help you with this. It's just knowing maybe the different techniques and the different modalities that can help you locate the beliefs and then be able to change them. And I wanted to sort of share with some of those with you today. Um, I'm struggling with everything right now. I've had tarot readings that tell me I'm going to be fine and to stay on the path I'm on. So frustrated. That's good if your tarot readings are telling you to stay on track. Uh, okay. Okay. So one of the first ways that I like to work with coming up with beliefs is to work with Hecate. The way that I work with Hecate is I sit in front of my altar if I'm going to work with my altar. Sometimes I don't do that. Sometimes I'll work with Hecate pretty much anywhere where I can be quietly on my own. And I'll ground myself so that I'm connecting to the earth and also connecting to sky and just feeling into the energy of just being grounded. Just brings me into a one pointed mind focus so that I can be more receptive and yeah, more receptive to myself and also more receptive to the help of Hecate. And then I will do a circle of light that I teach in the Mystery Witch School 101 and sort of basically set up that sacred space and also to cleanse, I guess, the space as well. Then I will call in Hecate and I'd usually just ask Hecate to be present with me, or I might do a more formal invocation if I'm feeling more formal. Usually I'll just ask Hecate, please be with me today to help me with my inner work and to help me locate what the situation is and what I can do about it. And I like to work with whatever is the presenting situation. So whatever's presenting at this particular point in time, I will work with. So it could be, for example, when I wanted to start witch school, it wasn't sort of a case of wanting to start witch school. It was a case of feeling like I was being guided to start it, but I didn't want to start it. I didn't want to do it. And I'd been asked a couple of times, did I teach? And I would sort of say no. And I'd probably had maybe the urge or the desire to teach for maybe 7 years before I actually did it, because there was sort of a feeling that I should, but then but most of me didn't want to, basically. And there was a lot of reasons as to why I didn't want to teach. And so it wasn't until I started working with Hecate that I started to feel more inclined towards teaching, and started to look at what the blocks were for me actually doing witch school. And some of those blocks were simply having to come out of the broom closet a lot more publicly, and the fallout from that, perhaps. Also, having to tell people what I do. People ask you what you do, when what your job is, and you've got to tell them that. So that can still be a little tricky. Another big barrier I had with beliefs was, well, who do I think I am to do this? Who do I think I am to think that I can teach this, right? And then other beliefs were simply getting criticism back from the witchcraft community itself, and because there's a lot of competition sometimes in communities, even spiritual communities, and I've often noted that in witchcraft. And also just simply because it's like, can I financially sustain doing this? Am I actually going to be able to do it and financially be able to do it, essentially? So there was a lot of beliefs that I had to move through in order just to be able to do this, for example. So it took me a long time to work through all of the beliefs, and I'm still working through a lot of beliefs that I struggle with doing this kind of work. So it's an ongoing thing. And when I ask Hecate, I usually come with a feeling. For example, I might come with a feeling of dread about doing something. For example, it might have been back in my early days, just simply dread of pivoting from working totally with emotional freedom technique and totally working with shadow work in more of a new age setting, to working particularly within the witchcraft and pagan and magical communities. And so there would be a fear that it's just going to totally crash, and dreading even doing things, believing that what's the point, it's not going to work anyway. So these are the sorts of things that I came to Hecate with. These are the sorts of things that I had to find. And the way that I found the beliefs, and there's a few different ways you can go about finding your beliefs, is that I do use EFT tapping. And it's my go-to technique because it helps calm the nervous system and it gets me connected to my subconscious mind. And as soon as I ask Hecate to help me locate something, I find that the tapping will take me straight to it. Or if I don't use tapping and I use journaling, and I'm just journaling free form thinking without editing what I'm thinking, just writing what I'm thinking, the thoughts will come out. If I go into meditation, so I say to Hecate, I'm struggling with this, can you help me locate what the belief is and then show me what I need to do to change it? I'll go into meditation and I might have a visualization, or I might go into what I'm feeling and feel into the feeling, and then the belief will come to me. Or I might say to Hecate, I'm going to do a reading now, and I'll use the tarot cards or oracle cards. And I will pull the cards and I will do a reading, and I'll have like a conversation with her about the reading. I will speak out loud to her. This is what I'm interpreting from the reading, and it's almost like she, through my thoughts, is guiding me as to where I can go with this and what I can do about it. What's the belief? And then once I've located the belief, then I have the other ways of then changing that belief. But I really do feel that working with Hecate, or just working with guides, asking your guides to help you, even if you've never worked with your guides before, to ask them to help you find the belief and you'll start to see it. And once you see the belief, you'll know what you need to do then to change it. And that's how I do it. It's like they are able to work with your subconscious mind to make it a little louder. And it's like you're focusing your intuition a lot more when you're working with other beings. Otherwise, you could ask your higher self to give you guidance as to what it is. But I find that asking, so whether it's your higher self, whether it's Hecate, whether it's your guides or another deity, asking them to help you locate the belief that's keeping you stuck, and there'll be more than one usually, but sifting through them, sometimes I'll come up with 3 and I have to do 3 clearings. It just seems to work so much better when you ask. When you ask for help, you will find those beliefs will come up for you. You just need to have time to be silent, either in meditation or do your journaling or do the tapping. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an example of how I tap, because if you're kinesthetically oriented, so if you're sort of a body person and you tend to feel more as a sensate, or you're just more into movement and you getting things going through moving, like dancing, yoga, martial arts, whatever, you might find that tapping is actually really helpful to you because it's actually working with the physical body. You're actually tapping on your acupressure point. Other people, if you're more verbal, you might find that the journaling is better for you. Or people who are very thinking oriented, very thought oriented, and not so much physically oriented, you might find that meditation might be a way for you to be able to tap into your thoughts and your beliefs. Okay. We'll just see where we are with the comments. Okay. Okay, we have Pluto energy. Good old Pluto. Plus Venus is opposite Pluto, so all relationships will be under pressure. Pluto is the great transformer. And it's a perfect time to do shadow work when you've got things aspecting your Pluto, particularly squares. Because Pluto is the great transformer. And if you even want to work with Pluto himself as a deity, he will help you do your shadow work for sure. Let's see. Are we having a Zoom meeting? We're having a tarot Zoom meeting this week. So if you are in the tarot course that I have running at the moment, and you can still join, it's called the Confident Tarot Reader. We have our second lesson this week. So that's going to be on the court cards, this lesson. And there's still time to join, even if you've missed the first lesson, you can still see the replay of the first lesson. So if you want to join, there's a link in the description field below this video to join the Confident Tarot Reader. Thank you, Shakti. Who would you work with to help resolve serious money issues needing immediate resolution? Well, you could work with Kernunos. He's pretty good with money and with shadow work. So he's a good one to work with. I've worked with him. He's awesome. So Kernunos, if you want to work with him. Hecate is good at helping you realize what might be causing the issues with the money from your own belief place. A lot of the beliefs we have about ourselves and regarding money actually affect how we can receive money or how much money we get or what happens with money. It really is linked to our perception of ourselves and our beliefs about money. And there's some terrible beliefs out there about money that are perpetuated in our communities. And we grow up with those beliefs, and it cripples our ability to be able to thrive. Money is food. Money is shelter. Money is even water. Money is all of the material resources that we need to survive and prosper, just do things in the world. Money can be your life, can have influence your life purpose. Money has a huge, huge influence on us, and we have to stop hating it. And we have to stop believing that it's wrong to want it or to have it, because it's almost like saying it's wrong for you to eat. It's wrong for you to have a roof over your head. So looking at your beliefs around money, getting Kernunnos or Hecate to help you with that, and then doing a spell for maybe getting some short-term income coming in to help you in the short term get through what you need to get through, and then working on your beliefs around money in the long term to help bring in more prosperity in the long term. Okay. Got out the broom closet, getting out of the broom closet and started my YouTube channel. I use tarot and astrology to solve cold case crimes. Awesome. I'm ready to share my knowledge and power the world. Yeah, awesome. That sounds awesome. I love that. I'll have to have a look at your YouTube channel. Awesome. Okay. Hey, talking to the dead, resonating. Awesome. So once you have been able to recognize what your beliefs are through meditation, through journaling, through tapping, it's a case then of knowing how to change those beliefs. So one of the ways that I look for my beliefs is to have a bit of a rant. And I use tapping to rant with, because I personally find tapping helps me connect to my subconscious mind, and I'm kinesthetically oriented. So I like to do something that involves using my body. So when I'm doing a tapping rant, I'm just using one EFT point, and that's the karate chop point along the side of the palm of your hand, and just using 3 fingers to tap on it, and I just go and have a rant. And it'd like I'm ranting to Hecate, or if I was working with Kernunnos, it'd be Kernunnos or my guides or the universe or my higher self. It doesn't really matter who you're ranting to. It might, to other people, you might want to do it quietly if you live with other people. But it's just in being able to verbalize what it is that you're thinking and feeling that helps you become aware of what you're thinking. And just tapping and having a rant. I'm feeling really afraid of doing this. For example, the YouTube channel, feeling really afraid of doing this YouTube channel. I'm scared of what people are going to think. I'm scared it's going to fail. I'm scared that it's not going to do very well. I'm scared of even people in my own industry criticizing me, and it just doesn't feel good. And I'm scared of doing it, yet I feel that I want to do it. And so you just have a rant, and then you'll find that one of the beliefs is it's not safe. Maybe it's not safe to be seen. It's not safe to have my YouTube channel because what are other people going to think? So that's a belief that it's not safe to put yourself out there. It's not safe to be seen. And going in and finding out what these beliefs are and just write them all down. As all of these beliefs come up, you can write them down. And you'll find at first there's probably a lot of them, and that's okay. There's going to be a lot of them, and there's always going to be those beliefs. It's like peeling an onion. There's beliefs under beliefs under beliefs. And then work out what do you want? What do you actually want to experience from putting yourself out there and having a YouTube channel, for example? What's your joy in doing that? And who do you need to be able to feel comfortable and excited about doing it and turning up, when you're doing it? And working on what the beliefs are that are stopping you from being that person. So you might want to be somebody who's really excited about doing the YouTube. You want to be somebody who feels very confident about what it is that you're doing. You want to feel confident when you're interacting with people. And you want to feel excited to get out of bed in the morning to do your videos or to do a live, or you want to feel those feelings. So when you try to feel those feelings, you'll find that there'll be a little voice in the back of your head will go, yeah, but. And it might be a belief of what's the point? It's not going to work anyway. And so you catch those beliefs and you write them down so that you can see them. And that's where I mean by start with whatever's presenting itself at the moment is whatever's going on in your life that you're not happy with, then what are you telling yourself about yourself as to why you can't get ahead, why it can't change? Because it's going to, you might do a spell, for example, to bring in more money, and it might work temporarily. You might get a little bit of a cash injection, but it's not going to probably stick because there's beliefs back there about yourself and money. It might be a belief that you can't get ahead financially because you come from a poor family or something. It might be a loyalty vow to a parent who struggled financially. It might be a rebellion vow to a parent that perhaps brought in a lot of money, but they wouldn't share it. It could be beliefs that money is the root of all evil, and that wanting money is not a good thing. What are people going to think if I prosper financially? What are people going to think? What are people going to say? If I try to make money doing this thing, if you're into the healing or any of the sort of more spiritual work out there and you're wanting to make a business out of it to be able to provide for yourself and to earn a living, doing something that is giving to the world in a really big way, it's doing something you're probably here to do. And it's also using a lot of your own skill and knowledge and resources, but there's a fear of doing it for money because people are going to go, oh, you're being greedy, or you shouldn't do this sort of work for money. It should be something you just give away and you just do. There's a lot of beliefs around that you may have yourself deep down in the subconscious mind that you have to change for yourself, because those beliefs are going to stop you from being able to uh, put yourself out there and say, hey, I do Reiki, and be really excited about having Reiki and telling people that you do Reiki, and that offering Reiki if you think that people need it, without feeling guilty about the fact that you charge money for it because you need to put a roof over your head and food on the table the same as everybody else who has a job. So these beliefs are what get in the way of you living your purpose and putting yourself into the world the way you really need to be in the world. So many people are incredibly creative people, uh, healers, really sort of stand back about really putting yourself into your healing work or into your creativity, because there's beliefs there that what's the point? It's not going to work anyway, or what will so and so think, or what will people think, or all of these reasons as to why you can't do those things. And those things were what you came here to do. And the struggle around doing those things is often part of your path. That when you've got a life purpose, there can be a lot of struggle around it. There can be a lot of challenges in the way of you really living it, because those challenges are actually there to help you become the person you need to be to fully actualize your life purpose. So it's once you discover your purpose or your passion, and you sort of think, I'd like to do more of that or find a way to do that, it doesn't mean it's going to be smooth sailing. It means that all those beliefs that have stopped you thus far are going to have to come up, and they're going to have to be dealt with. And if you're doing magic to help push you in your direction that you want to go, the magic will be more powerful and more successful once all those beliefs are dealt with. So the tapping rant is a way that I get to the beliefs. When I come to change my beliefs, it is to do with reframing them. So if you have the belief, it's not safe to put myself out there, in YouTube land, for example, it's not safe to be seen. It's not safe to have a channel, about solving crime using tarot. It's not safe to do that for whatever reason. It might have felt not safe. You put a what if statement in front of the negative statement. What if Because that's what we're telling ourselves subconsciously with our negative thoughts. We're going, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if that doesn't happen? And what if this so and so says this? And what if that does that? And what if the world implodes overnight? It's always a what if, a what if, a what if, a what if. So if you can change the what if from a what if negative to a what if positive, then you're giving your subconscious mind a suggestion. So rather than going straight into an affirmation that the subconscious mind isn't going to believe, it's not going to take an affirmation, it's going to take a what if, because that's how it thinks. It thinks in what ifs. So if you're saying, well, what if it's not safe to put myself out there and have a YouTube channel, for example, that's the belief. What if I can put myself out there, have a YouTube channel, and be safe at the same time? Or if it's to do with having a certain level of income, say you want to up your income from 30K to 60K, okay? But for some reason, the subconscious mind doesn't think it's safe to earn that much more money. It may mean that you might have this belief that to earn more money, you've got to work harder, or you've got to spend more time, or then what will so and so think if you're earning over a certain level of income? What will that mean about you? Who will you be? Put a what if statement in front of all of those negative what ifs, but in the more positive sense. So, what if I can earn $60,000 a year and be safe at the same time? What if I could earn $80,000 a year and still be a good person? What if I could, if it's something else, maybe it is having a relationship that you've always wanted to have with a really decent person. What if I can have a loving relationship with a really loving, decent person and be safe at the same time? Uh, Often we think that maybe doing something or having something will mean that we're a bad person. There can be beliefs that we're not allowed to have such and such for all sorts of weird reasons. There's beliefs that God doesn't want me to be happy, that it has to be, my life has to be a struggle because, life is about suffering. And the only way I can become enlightened or become more of a spiritual person is to suffer. But what if you can have a cruisy life and be safe at the same time? What if you can have a nice cruisy life and still be a good spiritual person? So that's reframing it, reframing those beliefs. So once you've captured those little nasty little buggers, you can then reframe them and into a way that's more positive. So putting it, what if I can such and be safe at the same time? That's an important one to remember. Or what if I can have such and still be a good person, which is another common one. Or what if I can do such and such, and still be or what if I'm allowed to do such and such? That's another one. Put allowed in front of it. It's just reframing the belief, and then I tap while I say that reframe. I get it into my body through tapping on the karate chop point on the side of my hand. What if I can do such and be safe at the same time? What if I can put myself out there in YouTube land and be safe at the same time? What if I get criticized by a whole heap of people and I can be safe at the same time? What if I can be criticized by such and such people and still be a good person? It's all of those beliefs, but you're just reframing them in a way that empowers you, and in a way that your subconscious mind is actually going to accept, because will accept the what if and safe at the same time, and being a good person at the same time. It's more likely to accept that than for you to just come out and say a direct affirmation without the what if in front of it. And that's a peculiar thing about the subconscious mind, but it's definitely something I've noticed makes a difference. And I find that with working with Hecate or with guides and finding those negative beliefs, often she will also help me fine tune the affirmation as well. And they're quite productive sessions that I have when I work with Hecate around finding the negative beliefs and then changing them, reframing them into what I want to feel, essentially. Because it's a big part of you stepping into your purpose. You know, we've all got a purpose in life, and often we're afraid of really embracing it because because of beliefs that we have about ourselves. And part of our purpose is meeting these challenges and making these changes. And if you're somebody that has come into this planet with a really big purpose, or you've really decided you wanted to take on a challenge in this life, there's possibly a lot of negative beliefs that you're going to have to change around yourself in order to fully step into what it is that you came here to do. And so it can be a big challenge doing what it is that you want to do. So if you do have something that you'd love to bring into the world, whether it's you're using your creativity, using healing, using teaching, speaking. There's lots of different ways that you can give and be you in the world. And you find there's negative beliefs around doing that, that's actually stopped you from doing it, then aim to find out what those beliefs are and change them. Because if you have a desire to really be and do something in the world, particularly if it's helpful to other people in some way, then that means that, and you've always sort of, you feel quite strongly about it, quite passionate about it, then that probably has got a lot to do with your purpose in life and your gift to the world as well. And it's not necessarily going to land in your lap when you discover what it is. It can actually mean that you've still got a lot of work that you have to get through. But the the joy in that is that when you take a step towards working on yourself like this, the universe will take a step towards helping you do the work. And when you ask for help and guidance along the way from whatever deity you may work with, or guides, or spirit angels, whoever you work with, it does happen. They do help, they do come. So ask for help and allow that help to guide you to making those changes. And then when you come to do your magic, you'll find that your magic will flow a lot better, and you may not even need to do magic. That is even the more magical thing, is that when you change yourself and you're able to be more aligned with what it is that you want, and there's the less negative beliefs there, you're able to live within as if the wish is fulfilled. You don't even necessarily need to reach for a candle or do a sigil or any of those things. Sometimes things just happen and you haven't made the effort to do an actual spell. So this is where the magic is really happening, in the inner realm. Okay, so there's been a lot of here, so I'm gonna um, see if we can go back. Um, okay. Okay, so people don't realize that when I give a reading or read their astrology charts and natal charts, it takes hours and hours, and it's draining, and I need to be paid for those hours. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you go to a doctor or a dentist, or even down to Woolies, I don't. You probably do you get Woolworths in the US? I don't know, but like a supermarket, you've got to pay. Like you're not going to walk out of there with free bread and milk. So, or you're certainly not going to get out of there without there being some sort of payment in some way. I mean, even in Australia, where we used to have uh, We used to have we do have a system called Medicare, but a lot of because Medicare is so low, a lot of doctors are still charging on top of the levy. But we pay Medicare through our taxes, so we're still paying for it. So we're always paying for a service in some way. And traditionally in witchcraft, if you went to a witch, the village witch, to get a reading or to get a spell or something done for you, you would definitely not be going empty-handed because they would not do it for you. And any witches who maybe work traditionally or come from cultures where it's still a big part of the tradition, you no doubt don't do it for free. You are getting some kind of payment. It might not necessarily be financial. It could be all other different ways. You could be doing a swap with someone who's a practitioner. There's lots of different ways, but nobody ever expected to get something for nothing all of the time. And unfortunately, in our Western culture, we have a bit of this belief going on that we should get everything for nothing. And that's just not how the universe works. There is to be some kind of exchange, and that can be different ways of exchanging, but there's still always an exchange. So yeah, it's a tough one when you work in this sort of industry. Can meditating on banishing a negative belief, like black candle gazing on the hour of Saturn, really be effective? Meditating on banishing a negative belief can be effective anytime. It doesn't necessarily need to be in with the black candle during the hour of Saturn. I have found personally, if it could help maybe if you're working with Saturn, because essentially if you're working with within the hour of Saturn, you're kind of working with Saturn himself. So you could work with Kronos and Saturn on these beliefs. He'll Kronos will certainly help you with anything that's keeping you stuck. Okay. Want us all to succeed. Okay. Yep, the ASMR, deathly scared to start, but started it. Awesome. Struggling with affirmations, yeah. Affirmations just a bit dead in the water without those what ifs. And at the beginning of it, and I find adding at the end of it and be safe at the same time, and be a good person at the same time. Whatever it is that you're worried that you're not going to be, if you do have that thing or you do believe that thing, is good to put on the end too, because it really does help your subconscious mind. It's almost like it gives it a little bit of a, oh, I didn't think about that. I never thought of it like that, because you're not trying to force it into changing. You're giving this suggestion. A what if is a suggestion. That's why it works. It works in the negative too, unfortunately. So when if we're worrywart, and it's always, oh, what if this happens, and what if that happens, and what if the car doesn't start, and what if I break down here, or what if it rains tomorrow, or all these what ifs are in the negative and creating more negative stuff. Then what if it rains tomorrow and everything still works out? What if it's fine weather tomorrow? And what if even if it's something you're afraid is going to happen, like for example, you're doing public speaking and you're worried people are going to be bored, for example, you could say, well, what if people are bored with what I say and I can be safe at the same time? So that way, then you're sort of covering the worst case scenario and giving us subconscious the suggestion that it's not such a big deal if people get bored with a public speak. Like, it's not going to kill you if you're doing a public presentation and the audience laugh or they get bored. It's just a way of letting your subconscious know that you can still be safe and do these things. Okay. I've been seeing info on Hecate corresponding with Saturn. Is that true? Well, she is. I mean, she is in those pantheons. So it's not so much that her and Saturn are the same deity or anything like that, but they are deities that you can work together with, like Hecate and Kronos, for example, or Hecate in the Roman sense of Hecate, because she's also in the Roman mythology too, with Saturn, and working with the two of them together as a god and goddess on removing obstacles, because Saturn is about obstacles too and restrictions. So if you want to do work with removing restrictions and obstacles, then working with both Hecate and Saturn could be fine, because they overlap there with that work. Uh, what was the deity? Oh, was that Cernunnos? Cernunnos. Yeah. Let's see. Cernunnos, starting with a C. Sorry, I blocked the bot. Okay. Oh, right. Okay. Hecate is connected to Zeus. Yeah, she was very, very respected by Zeus. And Gaia, yes. Yes. Hecate was very busy, I guess, in the Greek mythos. She is associated particularly with Helios, Persephone. She was there in the stories, the myths. Witnessed the abduction of Persephone by Hades. Making natural products like soap, hand cream, lip balm, and using essential oils. Awesome. Okay, cool. There's also, yep, she's connected to the moon as well, particularly the new moon and the dark moon. Can you do magic unconsciously? Yes, absolutely. We're doing magic unconsciously all the time. All the time. We do. We are magical beings. We are magical beings, and we've been led to believe we're not. And that's a it's very sad that we've ended up where we are, because we're in a very bad state at the moment, humanity, with um, how hypnotized we are by all of this focus on ego and separation. But yet at the same time, particularly a lot of you who may be more in the communities that are into realizing law of attraction and magic and spiritual awakening, that there is also awakening happening at the same time. So whilst we've got this sort of balancing act, I guess, of some people really getting caught up in the whole ego and totally getting caught up in the negativity and subjectivity of the world, and really falling for the indoctrination and programs of the power, the people that be, the people in power in the world, and this has been going on a long, long time. To people who are waking up and aware now of ourselves, and that we do have our own magical, creative ability, that we are all connected to all and everything, that we are nature and nature is us, that we are the air that we breathe, that we are the water, and also that we are sovereign beings who have the ability to be able to be much more than what we've been told we are. And so there's this sort of interesting energy going on at the moment for people who are waking up. We're waking up to ourselves and waking up to what the potential that we have, and doing this inner work, doing the shadow work, and becoming more of who we are, and realizing that we've been duped for a long, long time. Even prior to the whole witch hunt thing back in the Middle Ages, we've been duped for a very long, for thousands of years, by people who just want control. And we can see that through a lot of the history, uh, and all of the different conquests and Looking at the mythology, it's all in the mythologies from around the world, particularly when you're looking at sort of the Western mythology and the Middle Eastern mythology. We can see that we have had our power taken away from us for a long time. Okay. Okay, my mind also wanders. So I can end up getting frustrated without recording my own voice. If I have a recording, I get back on track. Awesome. Yes, using hypnotherapy audios is a good way for you to also change your beliefs, even if you just listen to them when you're doing something else. Yeah, they're helpful. There's a lot of them on YouTube. There's ones for money mindset, there's ones for relationship, there's ones for health, there's ones for leadership, particularly if you've got a YouTube channel and you're wanting to get out there and be in front of people. And there's lots of really good YouTube channels that have actual hypnotherapy audios that you can listen to on a regular basis, like every day. And you don't necessarily have to listen to them while you're falling asleep or even being taking time out. You can listen to them while you're doing the dishes or listen to them while you're having a cup of coffee and just getting it into the subconscious mind. The beauty of the subconscious mind is it doesn't have to, you don't necessarily need to be conscious of what's going on for your subconscious to pick it up, because your subconscious mind picks everything up. And so you can be noticing, your subconscious mind can be noticing something and picking it up, and your conscious mind's off thinking about breakfast or what it's going to do next. So having hypnotherapy audios playing in the background is actually a really good way to help change your beliefs. And if you can do that for at least 30 days with a particular audio, you'll find that it will start to make changes. You'll start to feel different. And it'll be subtle. You won't notice. It's not a big thing, but you'll just notice that you're thinking a little differently about things. Okay. Do you work with specific epithets of Hecate for shadow work or just general Hecate? I work with her generally. I do know that sometimes if I'm doing something specific, like wanting to open the way to something, I'll work with Hecate Clodicus, or if you're wanting to be sort of, I guess, enlightened, you could work with Hecate Phosphoros. It really depends if you want to be specific, but I find that Hecate, for me personally, uh, when you're working with deities or guides, there's a lot less ceremony that's necessary. They're a lot more flexible than we've been led to believe that they are. They really are. I know from my own experience of having worked in different spiritual traditions. When I first started out in life, of course, I grew up Catholic, so I was working within a Christian paradigm. If I asked for stuff or I wanted help with something, I was working within the Christian deities, and it worked. With Wicca, the same. I work with Wiccan deities. It works. Then when I was working within a Buddhist context, it still worked. Even if I just use the general working with the universe or call spirit, the universe, it works. It's almost like you don't actually even need to be specific about the name of the being that you're dealing with, particularly if you're dealing with a more general sense. Because when you ask for help, call out, working with Hecate, working with Kunonos, working with the universe, working with an angel, it happens. It seems to happen. So I don't know what goes on there. Is there a primordial dark goddess where everything derives from? I guess you could say it's like a goddess energy. So if you're looking at that yin energy, uh, yes, but it's like it's one consciousness, but there's different facets to this thing. So yes, that would be a facet of it. think of it in terms of facets, I guess. The different deities are facets, but the origin is like consciousness, and that consciousness is sort of expanded in various different and expressed in various different ways. We're even expressions of that, as the deities are expressions of that. And from I guess from an occult point of view, we see that you've got out of the darkness, the light came, and so the darkness is like the womb, and the light is like the spark that comes out of that. So you could, and it's often referred to in as a goddess. Power of belief. Many people think that the crow and ravens are connected to Hecate as well, but it's dogs. Yeah, dogs. She's the mother and protector of dogs. Yes, absolutely. I think somehow she got associated with crows, I think, in very, very recent times, like only over the last couple of decades, because of some of the way that witchcraft has been popularized, and even Hecate to some extent popularized. And so people want to associate her with crows and ravens, because crows and ravens are still associated with sort of the darker sort of side of things. But Hecate, yes, she was always connected to dogs, black dogs. Mhm. Kali has been dubbed the dark goddess, though she is not dark or evil. That's true. Yes, yes. Kali is the destroyer of illusion. What a wonderful thing to destroy our illusions. When we go into our subconscious mind to do our shadow work, we're working with deities like Kali. And Kali's another deity you can work with to unravel the subconscious mind, because she will help you destroy those illusions, just like Hecate will. They're very similar energy, Hecate and Kali. I've always felt she. Oh, that was okay. That's about Kali. I want to adopt a black Doberman Pinscher to be like Hecate and name the pup Hecate. Awesome. They branded her as evil. Yeah, well, they would. Hollywood still follows that dualistic good and evil thing, and so it's either good or it's evil, and there's nothing in between. Like there's a very black and white view on things, and that of course follows from the Abrahamic religions that just believe in black and white. I just got a black dog, and I've been looking for a silver or blue dog. Okay, awesome. Okay, so that's really what you need to be doing to work with your beliefs. Locate what the belief is, and then put the what if statement at the beginning of it, and still be safe at the same time, or still be a good person at the same time at the end of it. And that, over time, if you repeat that statement over time as your mantra, or tap as you're saying it, it doesn't take long for the subconscious mind to just go, oh, okay, I never thought of that. Maybe it is possible. And then that's how you change yourself, essentially. And as you change, your magic will change. As you change, things will start to change in your life. And you'll have aha moments sometimes when you're doing this work. You'll find that there's some one thing maybe that you couldn't really put your finger on, and maybe you've spent some time unraveling all of these negative beliefs, and then you find, after you've unraveled a lot of them, that there's still something there, and then you find what that magic thing is, and then you can work on that. You can get these big aha moments, or sometimes they're just little moments. It really just depends where you are in the process. But through asking for help, it'll make it faster and more clear to you, and you will get the support and assistance that you need to be able to then work your way through the situation and work your way through the shadow work. So that's really crucial. And I know from my own experience that the shadow work is the most important work you'll ever do. And it's probably, for a lot of people, difficult to do because you've got to know how to do it for a start, and you've got to want to do it for a start, and you've got to have the time to do it too. So you have to allocate time to do that inner work and listen to yourself and converse with yourself and value that. Value your inner work. Value your time with you. Value your journaling time, your tapping time, your time in front of your altar doing this work. It's of great value to you because it will change you and you will become more you through doing it. And when you become more you, you're going to be able to bring more of what you are into the world and more of who you are into the world. And that's going to help. It's going to help you and it's going to help other people as well. You will meet people that will come into your life that will help you, and also people you'll be able to help. You might start off with the idea of starting a YouTube channel doing this one thing, and then over time it morphs and develops into something else that you can't even foresee at this stage. It could turn into something else because as you keep working on yourself, what you want to do and what you want to put out there is going to evolve and change as well. So it's it's a case of really just valuing this work just as much as you'd value learning to do different spells, just as much as you value working with deities in general, and really understanding how important it is, particularly where we are in the world right now, because we really are in a crossroads, literally at a crossroads. And I think that's why deities like Hecate, for example, have been quite prolific over the last, decade or so, because she's a crossroads deity and humanity's at a crossroads, and it's make or break time for us. We either can destroy ourselves, which we're pretty good at doing, or we can wake up to who and what we are. And the deities are there to help us wake up to our divine nature and who we are. So take a look at that free masterclass, How to Heal Your Shadow Through Balancing Your Energy Centers. I just go through the shadow work, and I also go through the chakras and the different beliefs in that held at those chakras, and how that can be how that can be a problem to being able to not just do magic, but to actually really be doing the things you want to do in your life. And at the end of that masterclass, it'll also tell you a little bit about the Wheels of Empowerment course that I have running, which is actually my shadow work course, where you work with the chakras, you do tapping, you also do, there's meditations there, and also some rituals that you can easily incorporate Hecate into if you're working with Hecate, or Kununos if you're working with Kununos, or any deity that you work with. When I was doing the shadow work course, I was designing that. I was initially going to make it with Hecate, but then I realized that some people don't work always with Hecate. Sometimes they work with other deities. So I've made it so that you can choose the deity that you work with through your journey through the Wheels of Empowerment. But you can certainly work with Hecate through using those rituals and just incorporating her name into the rituals, and asking her to be present when you're doing your shadow work, while you're doing the for each and every chakra. Uh, there's nothing wrong with that. Hecate doesn't have an issue with you working with chakras. Okay, she's not into. She's however you can work, she's happy to work with you. Okay, if chakras is your thing, she'll work with you with that. If tapping's your thing, she'll go to whatever modality you feel happy with. That's my experience of working with her. So blessed be everyone. Have a wonderful week. I won't see you for the live next week because the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy, we're having our new moon at the same time next week. So there won't be a live next week, but coming up the week after, there will be another live stream. So have an awesome week, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.